Okay, this is the second design for a dog face mask, and this is the muzzle. You're still going to need a nylon lightweight muzzle, which is what I'm building this on. You may have a different kind of muzzle, but obviously if you have a bigger dog and who wears a muzzle all the time, this may not work for you, but with this type of muzzle I think this will work. Now this is going to be different. This is going to be a tube that fits over the muzzle and doesn't allow the dog's mouth or nose to take in anything that doesn't go through the mask. The other one that I just did is partial protection, or simply an identifier for a muzzle on a dog, to say service dog or therapy dog or whatever. For this one, the first thing you need is a tape measure. So this is fit to my dog already, and you're going to take the tape measure and you're going to, more or less at the widest point, I've already measured this, but the widest point is up here. And this comes out at 9 inches around. So what I have done, and then measure it this way, the length, and this is about 4.5. So what I have done is cut a 10-inch long piece of fabric that's about 5 inches wide. So the 10-inch gives me about an inch to work with on the seam. The 5-inch gives me only about a half an inch to work on the circumference. So just keep that in mind when you cut it out. So then what you're going to do is take your muzzle, pin the fabric with the two short sides together, and stuff something into your muzzle, because you don't want to do this on the dog. And slide this over the muzzle. Now, before you go any further, you need to take a pencil or a piece of chalk. This would actually be on the bottom. So turn this around so that it's on the bottom, like that. And using your hand to feel what the inside fabric is like, you want to make a mark, which you will also put on the inside of this, where you're going to be able to put a small tab of Velcro. So once you have it on there, you're going to have to eyeball it, but we'll say that's the inside. And then we can just check that we got that marked correctly. You can use your fingernail if you have to. So you're going to put a piece of Velcro there before you stitch it all together. I'm going to cut this in half. I'm just going to use a tiny piece of Velcro. The sticky side, the sticky tape type Velcro is probably better, so that you don't have to sew through the Velcro tab on the mask already. But you have it marked on there, and now you know where you need to place your two pieces of Velcro. One is going to go on the muzzle top, and the other one is going to go where you put your mark. So after you have placed your Velcro on there, and before you stitch this seam down here, you're going to need to measure across the front, and I came up with 3.5 inches. So I didn't want to get the compass out. If you have a compass, you can use that. I found something that was 3.5 inches around in diameter, not circumference. And you are now going to take this piece and you're going to fit it here. And this type of sewing is just a little bit tricky. It's not too bad. So now, this is what your tube is going to look like. That's going to go right over there. So before we finish it that way though, here's what you need to do. So you open it up, you have everything marked, and you know how you're going to put this together. Start with this edge that goes toward the dog's face back here, and just turn that under 1/4 of an inch and stitch that in place. Then put your Velcro on, because it's easier to work with a flat piece. Then, making note of inside or outside, and use your own seam allowance. So I know I have an extra inch here. I'm probably going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then I'm going to put this back on the muzzle. I am going to make sure it all fits. And at that point, this will be stitched. At that point, you go around and you stitch the circle. You pin. Don't stitch it yet. You pin the circle all the way around. And the reason I say this is tricky, and this will be the last step to making this, when you put this on your sewing machine, you're going to have it down like this and under the needle like that. And you go all the way around the circle. It's not impossible. You just have to be careful with it. It will go under the machine, and on this, I would say like 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, but adjust that depending on your own measurements. So once you get that stitched on there, that circle, because you're going to go all the way around and get that stitched, then you'll be doing it in a tube. You turn the tube right side out. It'll be like this, and you slide it over the muzzle. And use your sticky piece of Velcro on here to secure it in place. And then you will end up with a full protection mask, because the dog's mouth is inside the muzzle and their nose is inside the muzzle. And you're going to have that cover over the muzzle. So any air they breathe in should be going through 2 layers of muslin.